shout out to the Bowermans and the Hilgendorfs, my family. Thanks for coming. First of all, I want everyone to consider for a moment that the salutatorian and valedictorian are usually the shy, awkward, nerdy people of the class. Why are we giving the speeches? Is this supposed to be our award for choosing high grades over a social life? Pass. I think a much better award would be not having to give a speech. Anyways, to my class, I would say something like, we made it, or we have reached the end of a chapter of our lives and are about to start a new one. But that would be both cliche and inaccurate. When I was younger, I used to think that graduating high school would be a huge deal, the pinnacle of life. Now that we're here, wearing our maternity robes and cardboard hats, I think we've all come to the conclusion that graduating high school wasn't even the first chapter of life. It was more like the coloring book portion of life. Now it's time for the hard stuff. College, then real jobs, then maybe marriage. By the way, who do you think is going to be married first in our class? I put my money on Wendy. So no, graduating high school is not the pinnacle, and believe me, I'm glad it's not. But it is important. I think it means that we aren't kids anymore. We have learned all we can from Narnia, and now we have to go through this weird metal gate and join the real world. But it has been fun, and we've learned a lot, like how to dissect a cadaver, or conjugate Spanish verbs, and how not to cite a research paper. Some of us learned how to ski on the senior trip, while others learned how to fall in a way that would inflict the least amount of damage on their already bruised and broken bodies. John, you were a very persistent snowboarder, and you have my respect. Senior year was fun, and I think it was because we were forced to get to know each other even better this year. Those long bus rides will do that to you. One of my favorite memories from the senior ski trip was actually when the bus broke down in Colorado. We were stuck on the side of the road for like 2 or 3 hours. Now that's a time when you really get to know people. But no one was really grumpy or mad. We just talked and hung out, and then Mr. Achilles did impressions of different people in our class trying to ski. When it started to get dark, Mr. Wohlmeyer gave his message for that day, and afterwards Samantha and Jeremy, who headed up praise and worship for the trip, led us in a few praise songs, all on the side of the road, in a broken-down bus in Colorado. In the words of Russell from the movie Up, that might sound boring, but I think the boring stuff is the stuff I'll remember the most. Our class has done a lot of fun things together. We've gone to camp ever since 7th grade, drove up to Austin to see the Capitol, went on the Europe trip junior year, and we went skiing this year. But it's the stuff that sounds boring or simple that I'll remember the most. Stuff like having long talks with Samantha or Katie about life, going to Chuck E. Cheese for no reason at all with Abby and Cassie, pretending not to laugh at one of Eli's mean jokes, watching Anna almost get taken by an Asian tourist group in France, talking about The Office with Jordan, winning the Powder Puff game because Kimmy is a beast, watching Barrett get demerits for not shaving his non-existent beard, and watching every Rocky movie with Wendy while eating M&Ms and popcorn. I'm going to remember acting out scenes from The Hunger Games with Maddie at camp, watching Abby try not to laugh at one of John's amazing puns in Bible class, getting long, awesome, sweet notes from Christy, listening to Tyler and David talk about video games and movies and anatomy as Jeremy headbangs to his screamo music in the background, occasionally hearing Brooke mumble something hilarious under his breath, and having Megan hold back my hair as I threw up after the state cross-country meet. That was gross. Probably shouldn't have put that in the speech, but thanks, Megan, that was really nice. These are the things I will remember because I experienced them with the people I care about most. Graduating high school has not been the pinnacle of my life so far, but getting to spend time with you guys certainly has been. And now for some very important thank yous, starting with Mrs. Day, my kindergarten teacher. I remember you listening to me ramble on and on during recess telling you stories. I also remember getting in trouble with you because Delaney, Kelly, and I have been climbing on the bathroom stalls. Thank you for your love and your patience. Mrs. Scott, my first grade teacher, I remember taking watercolor lessons with you and being the lead in our class play that year. Thank you for being one of the first people to help me explore my talents. Mrs. Griffin, my second grade teacher, I still remember your motto for that year was, Jesus loves you very much, and I do too. You kept every drawing our class drew for you and hung them on the sides of your desk and on your cabinets. Thank you for making our class feel important. Mom, my third grade homeschool teacher, we read The Ordinary Princess together, and you took me to the zoo. Thank you for teaching me to love reading and for helping me realize I could do well in school. Dad, I remember loving every day of your 4th grade class. You had spelling bees, science experiments, the beanbag game, and most importantly, you read to us every day. Thank you for teaching our class that there was a time to work hard and a time to have fun. You and Mom are the best people I know. Thank you both for all you have done for your kids. Mrs. Graves, my 5th grade teacher, you patiently listened to my friends and me singing every VeggieTale song we knew and wrote our class a goodbye poem at the end of the year. Thank you for teaching our class with kindness. We were a really dramatic and hormonal group that year. Middle school teachers are either crazy or predestined to teach that age group. Thank you, Mrs. Corcus, for somehow teaching me to type and to understand Word and Excel. You deserve some sort of medal. Thank you, Mr. Riley, for making us learn all of those incredibly long Bible verses. And thanks to Mrs. Stafford for being such a good cabin counselor back in camp. Thank you, Mrs. Scott, for teaching our class American history and telling us stories. Mrs. Simmons, when I think of you, I think of one of those wise gurus at the top of a mountain, but without the beard. Thank you for being such an excellent math teacher. And to my high school teachers, Mrs. Waters, thanks for making 10th grade speech class so fun and letting us have snacks on Thursdays. Mrs. Swerts, thanks for loving history and taking our class to Europe. Thank you, Mrs. Rossi and Ms. Stotts, for being such exceptional math teachers and for having patience with me when I could not understand something. Miss Long, I'm sorry for crying the day before we took that big Spanish test. Thank you. Thanks for teaching us mythology and letting us read The Hobbit. Aunt Vicky, you're one of the nicest people I know. Thanks for taking us to the lab this year. And Mrs. Ballard, I think you must be related to royalty. Thank you for being my friend. And Pastor Scott, you look like the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just thought I would let you know. Thank you for taking the time to talk and listen to us. When I think of you, I think of Jesus asking Peter if he loved him and then telling him to take care of his sheep. I know you love God because of how well you took care of our class this year. Bracken is a type of Narnia. It's a safe, wholesome environment that is focused on God. We have to leave now and come to know God for ourselves in this new world. In the last chapter of The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, before leaving, Edmund asks Aslan if he was in the real world too. He answers, I am, but there I have another name. You must learn to know me by that name. This was the very reason why you were brought to Narnia, that by knowing me here for a little, you may know me better there. We finished high school, and now it's time to move on, which can be an intimidating thing, but it's okay, because God isn't just at Bracken. He's out there too with even bigger and more exciting adventures waiting for us. Thank you.